Hello, hello, everybody. Hope you're doing super well.
Yes. Hey, Dave. How are you doing, everybody? Happy Friday. Thanks for coming. I'm passing out mics here, but I appreciate it. It's been a little while. Thank you all. We had a nice little break last week for Thanksgiving holiday, but
I feel like we needed a break after the Sam Altman marathon drama that we had the weeks prior.
that's true. But then we filled it in with quite a bit of other things that are happening. Or at least, like, it's not quite as dramatic, but it's fun. A lot, a lot of stuff. So. But are you going to be able to live post for us today, Dave?
Yep, I am posting the thread to the top of the Megatron, and I will then switch to my computer and go as hard as I can.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Um, Let me see here.
As you pass those out, who feels like Stability's drama over their CEO is just them feeling jealous of OpenAI and Sam Altman and kind of wanting to get in on that trend a little bit?
It seems
Just
like something because I noticed it and it was like crickets, right? And then, like, well, I
they're
guess
like, they're like doesn't
it's
doesn't
not going
anyone
to
care?
become.
We like everyone's crazy. You fire Sam Altman, the entire world is like up in arms. We rumors of the CEO stepping down at Stability, nothing.
Right. Yeah. I had to go back and, like, did I read that correctly? But I guess I'm not worried about it. Um,
Hey, you
Anybody else?
guys. Is this something that we'll cover today? Because I actually I've only heard, little whispers here and there on here, and so I'm wondering if that's something we're going into.
Well, I just brought it up, but I don't think we need to make anything of it really. Just, don't want to make it into a situation, but why did you
Is
um,
is the news just that he's because I don't even really know. Is it that he's stepping down or stepping
no, no,
away?
I think the top investor the asked him to resign maybe. That's Rob did.
Oh, yeah,
uh,
Rob, we need the juicy
yeah.
scoop on
Well,
that.
I think that's the problem is that none of us has anything. And I think that was what Rob was saying that like after Sam Altman, we're like, whatever. And nobody really knows much and nobody has really made a lot about it other than potentially he's either being ousted or he's asked to step down, whatever.
As your live correspondent, I am pulling up the info, and we will get into it before our first featured speaker here. So, I will say one thing about Stability before we get into this, because I just hit a paywalled article and now I don't have it in front of me. One thing about the Stability CEO that I remember from months ago was that he had a co-founder. And he tricked his co-founder into giving up like 15% of the company for like a few $1,000s or like $10,000 in like a month or something before the Stability had this huge investment round and became worth many millions. And so I always had this kind of feeling like, hey, this isn't quite the I mean, like I like Stability because I'm pro open source, and I think that to make this technology safe, like we do need to as a community come together. Like there's a lot about the mission that I like, but I always kind of felt like that's a pretty sketchy thing for someone to start a company with you and for you to trick them out of millions of dollars worth of shares. And like, I have a feeling that whatever is going on now with the CEO being under pressure to potentially step down, as also Stability is like looking at a potential sale, right? So someone might acquire this one of the biggest companies in the open or in the AI space, and I have a feeling that it's kind of like, hey, if we want to sell this company, but you're still at the top of it, people don't like you. Not everybody is down with your tactics. So I feel like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. But a lot of gossip, a lot of hearsay. But that's what I'm kind of getting.
So I guess we're basically back to we don't know. But I will say that since I did get Mike's out here, and just in case, because I have Mike Dowdy here, I don't want to miss him again with more drama. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce him because I'm sure, I wanted to let him talk for a minute because he does have some exciting news. But thank you. And Bilal, we're still trying to get your mic to you. I appreciate your patience. And thank you for joining us, everybody. Again, this is Heather Cooper. And thanks for coming back to the Friday weekly generative AI space we're back in action, and we have our hosts here. Our panel, my co-hosts and panel are so gracious to join me here, and so that we can all learn a little bit more. But I'd like to thank Remix for sponsoring this segment. We're going to do a little quick segment here. And as you all know, we only take in partners that we really believe in. And I think it's awesome that Remix is supporting free content like this in this space. So thank you very much. And I'll introduce you to Mike
Absolutely.
Hardy. Thank you. Welcome.
Absolutely. The last one was on, I think the drama was about OpenAI, which was fascinating. And I was sort of like, okay, I'm not gonna mention anything here. I'm gonna sit back and get the popcorn out a little bit. And I'm definitely not going to comment on stability AI. But in any case, by the way, we use Stable Diffusion like most of the people probably on this panel, I would guess, and are a huge supporter of open source and a big believer in the community around open source. And I know Stability AI has been a big part of that open source effort. And so I hope, and I think most of us probably in this panel would agree that we would hope that this vibrant open source community continues regardless of what happens with the corporate structure or whatever at some of these companies who are big participants in it. Um, but Remix, we have something cool today I wanted to share with everybody. If you're familiar with Remix, the app, we're a social app for AI creation. And we talked about it a while back, a couple weeks ago. The experience for Remix is that you can share content from any AI creation tool that you use as a way, a purpose-built place that we can all, in a positive way, share AI art, AI videos, add music, have fun, not question AI or not criticize AI per se, but really just enjoy it and see what the best people are doing with it. That was the idea. And that over time, this community will grow and the feed will have amazing things in it that we can all learn from. And that's why we also expose the prompt, et cetera. So you can kind of learn as you go to see, oh, that's really cool. How did they make that? Um, and so one of the things that we rolled out today that we're super excited about is I think as you probably, if you've used Remix, you probably noticed that the design of the app is reminiscent a bit of TikTok. And you might wonder like, well, if this is about sharing my images, why did they make it look like TikTok? They should have built it a little bit more like Instagram or something. And there was a reason for that because we're a big believer that video is coming fast and furious and getting better quickly, and that we're going to be kind of where video is and maybe or where image is today, maybe a video will be in 12 to 18 months related to what your average person will be able to do with a video platform. So we wanted to design Remix for where that is going, the puck is going, let's call it, and make sure that the experience from the very beginning included video. Also, I'm just a big believer that both image and video should have a soundtrack and that we have a chance to make like little fun things, whether they're memes or whether they're mini music videos or just things that are more cultural by combining these things together. So anyway, we launched Remix, including video from the start. And today we launched something called Loops, which is our first video filter so that you can play around with adding motion to your remixes, to your images that you post, make a loop out of it. And they're basically very short video remixes that you can make, have fun with it, make memes, make little mini music videos. You can remix other posts with a loop. So you can take an image and remix it and make it into a loop, or you could remix someone else's loop and make it into an image. Either way, should be able to remix and make a loop out of someone else's prompt that they make, even if they use a different tool, as long as they share the prompt with you. So have a lot of fun with it. They're 2-second video loops, so they're really quick little loops, and we'll be innovating and iterating around that feature in the coming weeks. So you like adding a little bit more to it, but it's a fun. It's in beta today. A lot of people are trying it out, and I'm really looking forward to see what people do with it, frankly, because that's the point, is to get it out to creators' hands and see how they have fun with it. You can also make multi-posts, by the way, so you can stitch together little loops, like you can make like 4 loops in a row and have people swipe through it with music in the background to make a little story or something. So anyway, hope everyone has a lot of fun with it. I've been playing with short form video on Remix a lot myself. I really do think it's a new form of media that we're going to all create together. And there's something really special when you add music to it. So,
Yeah.
All right, Mike, I
Oh,
got
go
to
ahead.
bring a feature request to this space. So
good.
I was on Remix and I was having the time of my life, and I love the music that gets dropped in on the tracks. But and maybe this was user error, so if I screwed up, let me know. But when I remix someone else's image that has music under it, I want a way to carry that music
Yeah,
forward to my image too. And it was like I just kept being like, oh, it's not as cool because like there's no Biggie track underneath this, or like So
that's
that's
so
my
funny.
next thing. And with I haven't tried this new feature, but with what you're talking about with loops, I think I'm going to get even more jealous if there's music under the
If
tracks and
it,
I go to remix stuff and I have to like figure out my own music. So just
well, we
dropping that in as a little idea.
first, I mean, of course, we have to remix Biggie. I mean, and I think Heather is probably the Biggie fan because I think she dropped some Biggie on there. But your idea is an important one. I think when you think about a remix, pivoting on the image is one form of remix where you're inspired by the remix and take it forward and echo it forward. But pivoting on the song, that's another form of pivot. Like, hey, this song inspires me. I want to take the song story forward. And so I think organize around either form, sort of like TikTok, where you can kind of either choose the image or the thing or choose the song. I think either way is sort of an important way to iterate or remix or create derivatives or just enjoy kind of bouncing ideas off of other community members. So it's a great feature request.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I noticed that too. And I do love, mixing and adding different things in there. And I did get a chance to work with a little bit with the loop today, but I wasn't able to share it yet. I didn't have enough time. But I know there's plenty of people in the audience right now who did share some today. So I thank you guys, and just go ahead and post them in the chat below. Go ahead and link to it here so that everybody can see the different ways. It's interesting to see, and you can. I did multiple images that I animated, and it's interesting because each one's a little bit different within that. It's kind of like other animation tools. So it's really. When do you expect that it'll be available for everybody?
Really soon. I think today is we're rolling it out slowly. There's a number of folks who had early access today. If you want to try it, uh, you'll probably get access right away. But if you need to, you can reach out to me. Um, also, or anybody who looks like they have access, they could also help out by letting us know to add you. But we should have it out to the whole community shortly, and we'll have a waiting list. And as the waiting list will sort of pull people off who are the most active on the platform, they'll be sort of prioritized first to get access.
Linus, were you able to use it yet? I don't know if you tried it.
Hello, hello, mic check, mic check. Yeah, I've tried it. And some magical way, I also managed to get like 2,000 followers. I feel so happy about that.
I think you have like
Actually,
the number one post on Remix, or at least one of the top of all time.
yeah, I see that. Yeah, I see that. Of all times, the Darth Vader one has
Mm.
like uh, almost 200 remixes. Oh, do 800 likes. Yeah, nice. I enjoy it. I haven't had time to play a lot with it because there's something wrong with my Midjourney integration. So when I select Midjourney, I only get like 5 images from Midjourney. So it's a bit annoying. So I have to like manually go download and
That's weird.
sort and copy and paste. Yeah, but we can take that off the call. I can submit a ticket. But it's been fun. But I kind of echo what Rob said. I would love it to be so that the audio gets carried over. That would be nice.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. And I wonder, do you anticipate having option to have different music uploaded later on, or would that be a little bit too tricky?
Yeah, there's a couple things on the music front that we want to do. One is it's kind of spotty as well. That's bad fun. So Spotify is a little spotty, um, and YouTube sometimes can be. So we want to have a little bit more consistent way that you can essentially attach a track. Um, Another thing that we would like to do in the future is to allow you to have some basic editing on the track, so you can maybe choose the hook or whatever that you like, you think is the most appropriate for what you're trying to share. And then the final thing is a little bit longer term, but maybe not, because AI space is moving so fast, is generative music. So wouldn't it be cool if you have a prompt and you make an image or you make a loop? Wouldn't it be cool to add a little generative music to that as well from the same prompt? So just really the idea that we are together inventing a new form of social media, that all these tools are coming, they're radically improving and creating magic in new ways when they are. We want to pull that into the experience as fast as we can, so that again, Remix is like the best place to share and discover AI creations.
Can I ask another question? So sometimes when I add I try to add a track when I've done of the post that I've done, it says this track cannot be added. Is there a reason for that?
Yes. So in some cases with Spotify specifically, there is not essentially a sample of the song available. So, and it's not really clear why. Like in some cases, it may be that it's maybe the musician or the copyright holder didn't want to have a sample available for that, or in other cases, it might be more of an obscure track that they just don't have samples for. So the coverage of the Spotify catalog is not one-to-one to their samples API. And so that's the reason. If it's Spotify, if it's YouTube, it might be a different problem. Like Vivo blocks some of their links. So
That makes sense. Yeah, and I had felt like it has been kind of more popular, like better known songs that have been difficult to add, or like if it's
interesting.
official soundtracks that have also been quite difficult to add. So I think for my Star Wars theme there, I had to go with some obscure version by some less known artist, and then it worked fine.
Yeah, I think you're right too. And plus, we're also learning that sometimes the APIs will limit us in a certain way. So we're trying to work around that. I think as we get more mature, we'll probably end up having more direct relationship to some of the music sources, and kind of like what TikTok does now. But just early days, we're sort of working in this way.
I have a question, Mike, if I can ask, and I apologize if you already answered this, but I've been sharing Remix around. I wrote about it on my Substack this week. I talked about it on my podcast this week, and I'm excited to see how it
Wow.
continues to grow. So I'm curious, like, what does the active user base look like right now?
A little less than 100,000 people in the first 60 days. We've grew about 7,000%. We have about 33 minutes of time spent per person per day, which is an insane amount of usage per person. That's kind of similar to what you see with social media apps like Instagram or Meta or TikTok can run up to 90 minutes, by the way, but Instagram typically is between 28 and 33 minutes, and we're right at 33 minutes. So we're seeing really a huge amount of engagement. People are really enjoying, and what's cool about it is the content and the feed's changing radically too. So you're seeing amazing artists and creators come in and publish what they're doing, and it's just amazing to learn from everyone and see the amazing stuff that they're doing. So it's growing very quickly, and still most people don't know about it. So we're getting the word out, um, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
How are you planning to monetize it too? Are you looking at any subscription based access or like an ad product build out?
That's right. I think, well, the former probably first. I think there are already features that some users are asking for that would be conveniences for more power users. And in those cases, we would probably have a premium tier that you can access to get access to some of those more power user type capabilities. But we want to also keep the freemium or the free level really the main thing for most people, because I think most people in the world haven't really learned how to prompt yet. even ChatGPT with 150 million people, whatever it is right now, like think about there's billions of people who haven't done that yet. And so they on text prompting. And so the magic of this AI technology really hasn't gotten to the mainstream yet. If you look at image, if we go from ChatGPT images, let's say 15 to 20 million people have maybe tried to prompt image creation, and then video is even smaller. And so we're really early days. So the idea of keeping this free and fast and fun can get maybe a lot of people to try out for the first time how to make AI creations. And so we want to make sure that we do keep that free as much as we can, but have power users related to the monetization.
That's true. A lot of people probably don't really think about it that way. It's not just social media, and that's why we can talk about it on here. It's not taking people away from X or other platforms. It's for prompting. It's for generative AI specifically, not just to kind of say what's up. That's what the whole point is. But it's enjoyable to see that because we're all kind of experiencing it together. So
That's right. That's right, Heather. I call it the spell book. Like we're all writing the spell book together, and it's sort of like if it was Harry Potter, not to be too geeky, but they had the book already, so they could learn the spells. And in this case, everyone's trying to figure out how to tease the best things out of the AI. Like, oh, if I use that token or that prompt, it comes out with something better, and they're sharing what they're learning. So we're kind of writing this spell book together right now.
yeah, it's crazy because Mike. Some of Mike's creations are just mind blowing, and it's just amazing. Just seeing everybody, this all this creativity, all mixed in together, leveled out. Nobody's higher than anybody else. We're not. You don't see views. When you're looking at the person's profile, or when you're looking at the feed, you don't see. You can see the likes and comments, but the number, but you don't really see how many followers they have or anything like that. So it kind of evens it out so you don't pay attention to that. You're just looking at what they created. Omli, I know you had a question that you put in the chat. I wanted to make sure. Did you want to go ahead and ask Omli?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No,
I
no
was
problem. No, thank you.
scrabbling for my phone. I wasn't ready for a center stage here. I did have a question. I don't know if it's silly or not. I was just curious if I know that you have the Midjourney integration and the Spotify. Are you planning on doing anything with Dolly or not?
I think so. I mean, frankly, it would be great to be able to pull in a simple way, all the platforms, that we could. We want this, Linus is having a little bit of a hiccup, so we're gonna figure that out. We want the Midjourneys to come in as feels like it's coming from your camera roll, like it's that fast. And that's what we'd like to happen. I'd like to see the same thing with runways or with Adobe Firefly or with Pika or any kind of platform that starts to take off where people are like, I want to publish this quickly. It would be great to be able to have that direct integration. And it's probably just a question of whether that type of platform or tool has that API or wants to be able to publish that way. But certainly we would like to be the first place that integrates with those directly so that we can be the true home for creation and engine agnostic as well.
Go ahead, Salma.
Hello, Mike. How are you? I just wanted to ask about the new feature. Are you guys going to introduce more advanced editing tools within the Loops feature?
I think so. I think the way to think about Loops is we're inspired by, if you remember that social app a while back called Vine or Vines. It was like 6 seconds, and it was just really quick little videos that you could make and share. We think that there's something fun that we could do with these sort of short loops. So I would guess that people are going to want to create and sort of edit their loops. And so we might need to create a little bit of CapCut type features there to make sure you kind of get the perfect loop that you want. But right now it's pretty basic. We use AI, technology to essentially take the image and add motion to it. So that's what we're launching today, but we'll be rapidly iterating that to add time. So move it beyond 2 seconds to maybe a little longer, and then quality, as well as the types of motions that potentially could come out of re-rolling a loop. And but yeah, we're just really interested to see how people use it and kind of what are some of the fun things that they start playing with, and then we'll use that to prioritize what we build next.
Okay, and we just have another like a question or so here. I know. Thank you so much for your patience, Mike. It's so different than what we're normally used to. But Bilal, you want to ask?
All right. Hopefully my mic is working.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Thank God. Web, X team, nice job. Hey, Mike, nice to meet you. So this conversation certainly convinced me to install the app. And so I need to spend some more time using it. But already just scrolling through the feed, I've got two questions for you. The first one is like, just the name Remix, right? And you alluded to TikTok earlier on in your remarks. Like, there's like the duet feature and a couple other unique things that TikTok rolled out that then got like sort of pervasively adopted by all the other short form platforms. And then interesting content formats started emerging. I'm kind of curious, are you seeing like, what are a couple of different interesting like content formats that are emerging on this platform that just wouldn't exist anywhere else?
That's a fantastic question. And by the way, nice to meet you as well. So one that I love, but first of all, before I talk about what I like, I think what we're seeing so far is this: we don't know. This technology is the closest thing to magic that I've seen for a long time. And so I think what happened with the internet and YouTube, short form video became a thing that people liked. And we learned that after it launched, and people started to like shorter form videos and UGC. And with Instagram, it started out with filters and digital photos, but then it became something else as influencers and other types of content were shared. TikTok, of course, like you just mentioned, has an evolution. So what we're going to see, I think, with AI is the same type of evolution where it's just starting. We're just getting access to the basics, and having creators figure out what is cool and what people are enjoying is the next thing. Like, for example, what really is going to be an AI meme? I don't know. I don't think it's just copying the old memes, because we've seen with TikTok, those kinds of memes just look different. They're not just the old image with like the funny text on it. It's a person doing something, or maybe like that guy, on Saturday Night Live, it's like Timothy Chalamet doing something funny and on the bed of something else. Like, what's the AI version of that? I'm not sure if we know yet. And so I think there's gonna be a lot of experimentation. But to answer your question, like what's happening already, I think it's super cool the way that music and video and short form image is sort of being combined on the platform right now. It's making some really fun, interesting things to look at. And so, it's super basic, but I think that alone is pretty new and really, I mean, I don't think most people have access to create a Vanity Fair level photo shoot in seconds without a team to do the photo shoot and post it in something. So like we're democratizing the means of production around painting, around video now, and with high level fashion photography, and it's being mashed up in seconds and put in the hands of anyone. And I think that is why this is creating something different.
I love that. It's like, and as you add more modalities, you alluded to like integrating Pika and, sort of other image to video or text to video tools. I think it's just like, since you have that super tight creation and consumption loop, it's like you can do some really, really interesting things. Like your point about memes is also so well taken. It's like the analogy that keeps coming in my head is like sort of the async version of it on Reddit, where people would play like Photoshop tennis, right? Like somebody would upload an image, somebody else would add something to it, and then more people would keep adding stuff to it. And then kind of just seeing the chain of creation, like the provenance of sort of how the idea like germinated and the evolution of something that ends up looking hilarious and is a meme, ostensibly is funny, but then seeing how you got there is also kind of funny. Or, for example, seeing something that you really like and then very quickly being able to sort of, remix off of that, whatever prompt was used for that, super high-end photo shoot, for example, and putting another flavor on it, which kind of brings me to my second question, which is like, what do you think of sort of the other approach of tackling this space, right? Like, speaking of video, Runway's trying to do runway.tv. And I think if I had like a nickel for every time somebody's brought up, like, this is like liquid TV, but for AI analogy, I would be a very, very rich person. So like, I'm kind of curious how you think about that sort of, I don't know, more Netflix style top down curation versus something that's super short form, ephemeral, and quick moving.
That's so funny, man. Like, honestly, not to give you a nickel, but literally we were talking about liquid TV.
God damn it.
I know. This summer, literally was like talking to us AI artist named Nuclear Samurai, and we were chatting on Twitter, and he was like, "What does this feel like?" And I go, "I don't know. It feels like those old shows that were on MTV." And he's like, "Yeah, liquid TV." I go, "Yeah, that's the one." And it's because it's weird because it's got that sort of like short clips. They are experimental. Some of them are interesting or funny. Some of them are just a little weird. But they're also like, for people who like that, it's like catnip. You just love to watch the next one. So I always thought that like AI video and AI creation is that stage right now, which is this highly experimental moment that's going to become more mainstream later. And so that's why I think the liquid TV is such a funny example. It's so funny that you said that. Related to runway TV, or of course there's going to be that. Of course there's going to be longer form. I mean, we're probably going to have longer form on Remix at some point as well. I think that we're a couple years away from us on our couches uh, making videos for ourselves where we're the main characters. So um, yeah, I think curated is always important with media in general. So that if they choose the best of, it's going to be a very compelling TV quote experience like that. But with us, I think we're unbundling it and allowing anybody to be a creator, and sort of the feed has to do the heavy lifting of showing you what's next that the user wants to see. So we built a machine learning based platform under the feed that over time gets smarter, so that theoretically, once we get enough users, we'll act a little bit more like TikTok, where it will learn what you like and share with you the post that you want to see next. And hopefully that will be video that you'll like enjoy seeing. And I think it'll be short form, but yeah, I'm a big fan of all that. And I'm a big fan of Runway TV and what they're doing. And again, I'd like to partner with Runway and see if there's some, you know, loop like clips that they could publish directly from Runway into. That would be.
Yeah, I love that, man. Yeah, thank you so much. It's like the other analogy, other than liquid TV, sort of like if you're familiar with Rick and Morty, sort of intergalactic cable TV has that similar sort of like weird kind of otherworldly quality. But I'll just wrap up by saying I think it's very fascinating where like TikTok sort of solved the blank canvas problem, right? Because you've got the soundtrack to help you out, or a video inspires you, or you can like we talked about, duet or stitch a video, but we haven't really seen a platform where it's not just the blank canvas problem being solved, but you've got pretty much the template. You can like decompose it to its actual prompt. And I think that's just super, super powerful, because usually, everything gets lost and baked out just into pixels. So it'll be interesting to see what other emergent formats kind of, come out of here, especially since you're leaning into a bunch of different kind of AI capabilities, versus Runway that's obviously going to try and push their own first party stuff.
Well, I wanted to say that thank you so much, Mike. And in the future, that I was thinking of hosting, because there's so many of us that are on the app, like doing a showcase once a month where we kind of talk to maybe some of the people that it doesn't have to be the biggest creators on there, just people. I see all types of interesting, images that are popping up there and different little visual stories. So I hope we can do something for like 15 minutes once a month, just kind of like go over some of that stuff and see what people are integrating, or how are you using it, and how we can all learn how to take it a little further, because it's an extension of what we're doing here. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And I'm so happy that everybody's on there now, on at least on my panel, basically. I think I'm not sure I got to get you on there, but working on it. But
I just need the desktop.
I know it's a tough shift sometimes to not have both, but it kind of makes you work a little bit, and it's a nice little break sometimes for me at least. But thank you, Mike. Thank you, and good luck. And I'll be posting something soon. And we do have some posts up there in the top showing you that. I love the one where it has the guy smoking, saying, "Make sure to share all your most pikas, runways, mid journeys, fireflies, everything on Remix." So just welcome everybody. It doesn't matter what generator you're used to using, or if you've never even tried, you don't have to worry about it. You can just come on there and remix one of mine or anybody that's in the feed, and makes it pretty simple. And I love seeing what people do with mine, and I'm sure other people do too. Thank you. And since we are talking about the animation, this has been a wild 2 weeks. It's like, Mike, I cannot catch my breath. So we were talking about runway. I guess we can go into that next. And let me see. Or how about Magnifique? I'm so proud of a good friend to many of us, but I've known Javi Lopez for over a year now. And to see a Magnifique, I think I want to talk about that because it's just so interesting because it grew out of our community, right? Who wants to, if you don't know, if you all have not tried it yet, those of you in the audience, Magnifique is an upscaler, enhancement resolution for your images, but it's basically, what are we calling it? Reimagined upscaling. So it's going to take that same image, but instead of just upscaling or, increasing the resolution and, fine tuning that, you can add things to it a little bit, or you can you can add more creativity. And Hobby calls it hallucinating, letting the AI hallucinate so that it can add more to it. But it's still the same image, but you can change. There's a slider for the creativity, which seems to have the most effect on the difference of the image. So it's still the same image, but it's just amazing what some of the things it can do. I don't understand the science as much, and that's why I do need some of my panel to help me out. But it is amazing to see that. And having used so many different tools, you enter a text prompt, and it works best. Javi said if you enter if it's a mid journey image, enter the same prompt that you use for that image, and you can adjust all these other little settings in there that can change that. Amelie, go ahead. You got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I mean, if people care, and I'm not 100% sure if this is how Javi is doing it, but I'm guessing it is because, I'm guessing he's using a stable diffusion base. And it's just like your basic, like, stable diffusion tile upscaler, which I think the thing that's really great about this is, like, obviously, like, it's the same sort of thing, like, where you have a lot of these tools. Like, the technology's been around for a while. Like, most of the people have been using stable diffusion have been using this sort of upscaling technology for a while, but it's hard to do, right? It's not hard to do, but it like takes time. You got to learn like Comfy UI or Auto 111 just to be able to like access it and all this kind of stuff. And so when someone takes that technology and like packages it into something that's like very easy for a layman to use, that's really like what becomes exciting about it. So it basically is sort of the way you would think of just sort of like an image to image. So it's basically like, this is what I'm guessing is happening. I'm not exactly sure. I have not had a conversation with him. But the way that you would do it in Comfy or Auto 111 is you're basically like cutting up the image into a bunch of tiny little smaller images and rerunning those as an image to image. He's probably using some control net and stuff too. And then those kind of get like spliced back together. This is like a really layman's description of it. It's more a
Well,
little
no,
bit
that's
more
actually
complicated
very
than that.
helpful. That does explain it to people
And
who
that's kind
don't
of
use it.
that's the tiling upscale thing that is being done. Again, I'm not exactly sure, and I saw that Salma's hand went up, so she might know if he's using a different background processes, but it looks a lot like that to me.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think he's probably trained a stable diffusion model and is using image. I'm not sure if he's using image to image. It looks like he's probably trained a diffusion model, probably trained some LoRa's, and built to UI. As you said, the nice thing about it is the fact that it removes that barrier to entry. Anyone can use the tool now. whereas before there was like multiple steps. You had to download models from either like Hugging Face or Civet AI. So I think, yeah, so as I said, like I think he probably trained a stable diffusion model, and also probably trained some of the LoRa's for the hair and also their skin.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
so
100%. And you even have those. He even put those models. So you have like little presets on there
Yeah.
too. So each of those presets is probably a trained model as well.
so I'm seeing a few advantages to this. Like, first of all, upscaling is super useful if whatever you're using to generate an image just isn't giving you a very high resolution image, right? Sometimes we need more, or we want to zoom in on a certain part. And if you use Gen AI and some other tool, you need to make it bigger. This is going to help solve that. But the way that he solves it, by allowing you to reimagine some of the detail, for me, a lot of times it actually improves things that other Gen AI technologies kind of leave that I don't like. So, for example, sometimes when you do it's an image that's supposed to be photorealistic, the skin on a human doesn't look super realistic. It's like a little too plasticky or a little too perfect, not enough porous, not enough detail in the right way. And I've noticed that also taking your images into Magnific or Magnifique, however you want to say it, like adds this quality to it. It actually seems to correct some of the things that I don't like about Gen AI and make them better. So it's sort of doing two things at once. And I, for one, really like that approach and how easy it is. Like, there's a little line that you can kind of drag back and forth to see the difference and kind of understand what it's doing. And it's just the right amount, I think, of changing what you've done, but retaining the essence of it, and actually most of the time making it better in the process. So just really overall a big fan of that project, and I love that it's basically one of us, like one of AI Twitter or whatever. I don't want to, AIX sounds
Absolutely.
weird, like who was spearheading it, and it just goes to show you, like, if you have passion about something and you want to take some time, like, you can build tools like this. Like, you can create things there. AI has made a lot of software development less expensive. So has globalization and the internet, like, overall. And like, I don't know what Javi put into this app, but I don't think it was like he spent $100,000 on software development. Like, I think it was probably something that is within reach of all the people on this call right now, if they were passionate about something, that they could figure it out.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people realize, but Javi had another account, a Spanish language account. And about a year ago, a little over a year ago, he started his English account. And that's how we met. But he used to share in both, and I learned a lot of little really useful prompts and things like that from him, and just becoming friends like that. So he literally, he lives this stuff. And I know he said that, right, he would be here. I asked him, but he's just blown away. He's busy because the response was so great. And I at least give him credit for being the first one to come up with it. And of course, it didn't take long for others to, kind of develop something similar. But he saw that need because he's doing this all the time. And he's part of this community and knows all the little things that you were just saying. You want it to look a little bit more realistic, and when he was explaining how he'd been using this secretly for the past several months, and I kept thinking back to, that's how he did that one, the animation or the little movie for this, and for just different posts he's used, and you can see the effects over time as he was perfecting that. He said, it's not, he doesn't have VC backing. And they're not trying to get rich, but they're trying to make it available to as many people as possible. But I know there's free alternatives now, but they're not trying to get rich. They're doing this because he and his partner on that, they are just trying to provide a product that they know that people will use and that we need it. Go ahead, Omli.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, like, I actually did because I was just going to mention what you mentioned, that there's free alternatives now for people who might not be able to afford Magnifique. I actually did a Korea oh God, I'm just going to call it Mag. Uh, comparison this morning, and put it up on my Twitter if you guys want to look at that. And so Korea has a free version. You do have to get on their wait list, on their beta. And it was really interesting, actually, because when I saw Korea, I was like, oh, sweet, awesome, free, like, great. Because I didn't end up spending the $39 for Mag when I first saw it, because I just wasn't sure. And then I was like, I want to test it. So I tested it, and I do think that, like, Javi's really nailed it in, like, really, really well. And it's probably because of, like, all the work you were saying that he's been doing for, like, a long time. I do really like Korea, and I'm not sure if there's other ones that are doing it too. I think it's like a great free option. But I did find that Mag was like a little bit better in some ways. It was just a little bit tighter. It matched the original image more than the others. I think there's a lot more hallucination in the other one and stuff, which is fun too. But yeah, so it was really interesting.
Well, I know we were going to talk about Korea today because that was another huge thing. And I know that a lot of us on the panel at least have gotten a chance to use it. But I know for their free option, have they opened up more access to people? Does anybody know? For them to be able to use, because I thought a lot of people were still waiting on the wait list for Korea in general.
I got access on, I think it was Tuesday, and I didn't do anything fancy. I just signed up for the wait list like 2 weeks ago. And I got the little email, and I thought, oh, maybe they're just rolling it out to everyone. So I asked a couple friends, and they're like, nope, haven't gotten it yet. But I think I was only on the wait list for like a week and a half or something. No.
Okay.
I think the upscalers are for everyone. They're open for everyone. I think it's the other.
Oh, that's true, because they do
Yeah.
have the website. I mean, they have a whole platform already, but just not for the what's it called, live image generation, which is what we were going to. We can go into that now because that is, it's kind of related, right, to Magnifique and what we were talking about. But Korea
Yeah.
is part of that, and the LCMs. Let me think. Yeah, because that was the next thing
Yeah,
between
Korea
that
is
and runway.
started the big live thing, and then Stable Diffusion jumped on board with its SDXL Turbo, and that's been like a really big thing.
Yes, that's interesting. Yeah. So this has all kind of popped up so fast, and I didn't realize there was this many different things that were available right now that could just drop like that. So let's talk about Linus. Do you want to talk about it? Because even free picks, Korea, you use free picks some, right? Is that similar to Korea and SDXL? Linus, I'm sorry, I know I put you on the spot there for a minute. Or Bilal, Rob, anybody who wants to join in on that. Rob, I don't know.
Sorry, I completely missed the conversation I had.
Oh, okay. I'm
Speaking
so sorry.
kids.
I thought, like,
Sorry.
yeah, you
No,
probably
it's
weren't
fine.
waiting. No, we were just. I wanted to talk about the LCMs, since we were talking about Korea, along with Magnifique having that option for the reimagine upscaling. But since we were planning on talking about Korea for LCMs, did you want to help lead that conversation? Because you worked with
Yeah.
free pick some.
Yeah, like it feels like there's a bit of a battle going on between Kriya, FreePix, Leonardo. There's like everyone is doing their implementation of the LCMs, and it feels like whoever can build the best UX right now probably wins. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see what happens. Obviously, I mean, it's cool, but like the final output so far, they are lacking in my opinion, like the output that you're getting, even with the upscalers. But I mean, this is just a matter of time before it's gonna get really, really good. I'm most excited about the fact that we were waiting 25 seconds to get an image generated, and now we can generate 25 images a second, basically. Like we can just generate a lot of images, and how that changes how we use the technology and what we expect from the technology. I guess we should have seen this coming, though, given how much we can do with video. Yeah. What do we need? What do we want to cover with the LCMs?
Well, no, I was just thinking about that, and that you mentioned. I just started. I used Leonardo today for the. I didn't realize that I had that option, and seeing other people post about it, I didn't even really think about it in the same vein. But yeah, all these things. You're right. We used to have to sit there and wait for everything, and now it's just to see it. I think that is the novelty. It's not so much the image that it generates, but being able to see it happens so quickly, right there in front of your eyes, from the most interesting combinations of things. So I put like a lot of different, I'll like upload an image and mix it with a scribbling, just some shapes that I put. And I love seeing what happens to that and trying to figure out why does it keep changing that if I move this piece over there. That it's pretty interesting. So I think it stimulates my mind to wonder more about what else we can do with these things. So I don't see it as much as for the final product as for what it's giving us the opportunity to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if
wonderful.
if anyone's confused by this conversation, that LCMs, what we're talking about here is this new breed of apps where it takes what you're drawing or you're kind of creating on one part of your screen, and then and also a prompt or some other input, and renders out an AI version of it on the other side of the screen. So you've probably seen these demos where someone has like a rectangle and a circle, and then on the other side there's like a person. And what's so amazing about this is the ability to compose an image in the way that you want. And so I think that we're seeing this convergence of two really important AI technologies with this. This is kind of the second piece. The first piece, the problem was character consistency. I can't make a comic or something like that if if I'm not able to sort of reproduce my main character, my secondary characters, my settings, things like that. And those problems are starting to get solved, although not entirely. The second thing that we need as artists is the ability to influence our compositions. And so like many of us spent all this time learning tricks like a wide angle shot from above, overhead helicopter shot of blah blah, like all this stuff just to try and get like a certain kind of composition, and then still it's not necessarily the way that you picture it in your head. Or rule of thirds, I'm just trying to get my character on the like right third of the image. So difficult, right? Now with this type of tool, early days still, but we can influence those compositions. And I think that we're going to see this is pretty much the beginning of a new era of the ability for like regular people to be able to make art. Once we get character consistency and setting consistency a little bit better, it's like anyone can make a comic, anyone can make a web comic or a graphic novel or anything like that. I think that this is a really big step. And I don't know about you guys, but I love to draw, but I've never gotten to the level of professional good. And now I can still create the things that I want to create with my my skill level, and I think that's amazing.
Hey, Rob,
Yeah,
this is
I think yeah.
Belavel, if I can jump in here. I mean, I think you framed that up well. Though the one thing I would add to that is like, I think consistency, we've had that since ControlNet, right? And there's been Scribble and a bunch of other stuff, but I think it's really the real-time feedback that changes the game here, right? It's like, instead of waiting for like, 20, 30, 50 steps for an image to start looking good, you just need a couple, right? And I think Amelie hit on this earlier. LCM LoRa, open source research that just came out. A bunch of companies are going to implement this, but there's also now SDXL Turbo, right? Where they're trying to take this like old school GAN style approach, which was like way fast, but not as high quality, and getting the best of diffusion models too, where like in a single step or two steps, you can get something pretty cool. And so that real-time immediacy, I think it's going to be so crazy for artists, right? Like, that's what blew me away about playing around with Kriya or whatever. It's like, dude, I've like loved ControlNet, but it's this like batch process to like process my videos and images. And it's like takes you out of that flow state. And the fact that you can sort of iterate in the same environment, and then even better, start casting screens from other tools you use, whether that's Procreate, Photoshop, what have you. I think that's just going to be so powerful for letting people get that real-time feedback and then easily start integrating, their other tools into it versus, oh, Photoshop batch export, go into automatic 1111 or Comfy UI and do your thing. So I think it's going to be super exciting. And I'm kind of curious to see what startups do with SDXL Turbo too, because I just dropped and it looks pretty freaking amazing. If you haven't tried the clip drop demo, I would highly recommend giving that a shot as well.
Yeah, 100% agree. So Stable Diffusion XL Turbo is, it's so fast. It's lightning fast. You're typing and then you cannot even finish typing and it will generate for you. But we kind of see the same issues there with the output, like consistency and also the
And
quality.
faces kind of suck, right now.
Yeah, but I mean, we're early days. Like this got released 2 days ago. So, but I also want to point to that the real time feedback, and I actually seen a lot in the past few days from artists that are very good artists. One guy in particular, Martin Neblong, a Danish kind of dreams creator. He does these really interesting 3D scapes using PS5 and Dreams. And he's kind of casting his work from Dreams straight into Korea, and out comes kind of these super polished ideas because he's painting quite detailed in 3D space. And I've seen other things from other lesser known creators for us in this bubble, but they are doing some really incredible things. So I don't think it's primarily people that do not know how to draw that will be drawn to these tools. It will be creatives too. I think finally we're seeing this bridge where everyone is being so nascent to, hey, you can just type a few letters into a box and you can do art. And the traditionalists, they just scoff at you and go, that's not art. And here we go. Now we have something that's actually art. I mean, you take your skills to this and you get real-time feedback where you can, morph your style, or you can create something different. And I think this will tickle artists. This will tickle creatives in a way that text never did. Because text tickled me because I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at ZBrush. I'm not good at Maya. I'm not good at any of that stuff. I'm a terrible artist in that sense. I'm really good at coming up with ideas, but I'm horrible with pen and paper. But I think this time around, these stuff will really tickle the right people, and maybe we'll get more of the creative types actually looking into these tools now and say, hey, actually, this is closer to home. This is closer to what I like to do, and yeah, I think we're on that as well as the people that Rob mentioned that might not know or might not be as well versed with a pen. So yeah, I'm super excited about this development.
It's totally well said, man. It's like the other example I remember seeing. It's like even for the upscaling conversation we were having, right? It suddenly becomes appealing to, like, a lot of people have been using Topaz, right? Either Gigapixel or Video AI. By the way, slight digression here, but looking at how good both Magnific and and I kind of agree with the assessment. Korea isn't quite as dialed in as Magnific is, but I want that for video already, right? Like, can I take my super janky sometimes, image to video generations and upscale those? But the upscaling feature itself makes it less of a toy. Like, I think it's like the Blender Guru guy. What's his name? I'm totally blanking on it, but he like quote tweeted that artist.
Andrew Pierce.
Yeah, there you go. The donut example I think was a perfect one. If you're like, you modeled or sculpted something manually, and then you don't want to sit around like, look, I was just going to put this on Instagram. It's going to be my like Beeple style, like still image of the day. Now you've got this like enhanced 3D render button, right? That adds in like the fluffiness and the pores of like the skin, or just the sort of the crumbliness of the donut with a bite taken out of it. And I think it'll integrate itself into workflows far more easily. And I suspect the on-ramp for all these more, people who are already doing digital creation will be sort of these web-based tools like Krea, Magnific, et cetera, right? And then once they're hooked and they're like, holy crap, I'm paying a lot of money a month, they'll probably go down the, sort of the automatic 1111 comfy UI rabbit hole that we're all clearly down.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was having a couple conversations back there.
No worries. I was also on mute
Heather,
and I couldn't
when are you
find
going
the
to have
button.
AI help you with your conversation so you can like...
Well, they can come and like read these DMs while I'm like trying to scan through and not answer too much while I'm talking. Like, I'm going to miss something on this face. But yeah, if they could have my personal AI help me out there, that'd be helpful.
Soon, Heather, soon. We'll figure that out. Could we go back to the
You were on
upscaler
mute, so go
enhancers?
ahead. Go ahead.
Before, can I just on the enhancers slash upscalers before we leave that topic? Maybe we'll circle back to it later. But like, to what Bill was saying there, like, imagine when we get this for video, and imagine when we get this at 24 frames per second, like, and we don't have to wait, and it's just there. It's almost like RTX upscaling in a way.
Exactly like DLSS, right? On steroids.
Exactly, DLSS
Totally.
on steroids, and I think because it's possible now, we can plot a scale, and we can point into the future and say this will happen at X time. We know it will happen. It's just a matter about when.
Yeah, Jensen was right. Though I did say it on Twitter before Jensen. Though of course,
Yeah,
Jensen said it with a leather jacket on. So
he did have his leather jacket on. He did say it with a leather jacket, but I know you said it first. I'm putting my name to that.
Amen.
Well, we can, since we're kind of still on that subject, there's so many little things. I will talk about Deforum real fast because I just love Deforum, and AP, is he still in the audience? What's up? But it's a lot of fun. The beta animate in Discord right now. I think they're trying to get access out to more and more people. They're rolling it out, working as hard as they can, but that is just a lot of fun. Amelie, do you know if you can you add more to that? I've used
It's a
it
lot of
several
fun.
times. Yeah, it's just it's text. It's just text to image, and the crazy thing is you only need like one or two words. Really, you don't need that much, but you enter a prompt. It can be a very short text prompt, and then a style. You pick a style, or you can pick none. You don't have to pick a style. There's a drop down menu when you type in the / whatever I can't remember what the command is, but it'll bring up the prompt fields. You type in the prompt, and then there's drop down windows for the other parts. So you have to put in a style and an evolve type. Is that what it is? The motion type. So, and they'll have drop downs for both of those. And for the motion, I know that there are additional styles, additional types of motion, like the traditional deforum style, or the evolve, or the fly throughs, and different things like that, or scene changes. There's additional styles if you type X in there first, and it brings up the other style or other motion types. I keep calling them styles. For anybody who's in the audience who, if you just started using the bot in Discord, there are some, just kind of like go through there. But also, I will tell you to go to the resources tab channel within there. There is a Google Doc that explains all this, if you were wondering.
Yeah,
And
I
there's
think.
just a lot of stuff you can do with it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, I think the thing that's most exciting about this, for me at least, and maybe for other people who've been in this space for the last couple of years, is that Deforum is like, it's the OG AI animation. It's the thing that's been around since like way before any of this, like Runway or whatever. This is back when we were just trying to make animation out of like basic, like stable diffuse, like SD kind of stuff. But it's such a beast of a thing to learn. It's been in collabs, it's been in Auto 111, and it's amazing because it has so much control and so much like sort of innate creativity into it, and the amount of things that you can do outside of like what's even in the beta right now is so huge. And so for us that like know it's like what's coming down the road, like auto reactivity is like one thing that's very exciting that I always love to deform for. You can basically create videos that react to the way an audio that you put in. It'll change like its movement, it'll change, it can prompt travel, it can do all sorts of things based on just like a beat. AP can talk so much more about it than I can. I just saw him jump up there. But what's really exciting for me is the same thing I was saying again about Mag, which if you guys don't remember, that's my nickname for Magnifique because I can't say it properly. Is that it's this thing that's been around, and now it's getting packaged for the use of more of the layman. And the thing that excites me so much about that is like this is a thing that I love, that I've loved to use, that I loved seeing being used. but nobody has really been able to use it. And now, like, breaking down those barriers, so much more creativity and so many people being able to use this really cool and really fun tool is really exciting. And I can't wait to see how much it grows and how they implement all of the other controls and stuff. And you guys are just doing such a good job. I'm obviously gushing, fangirling a bit.
So I got to ask a question here. Like, it
AP
is the
is on
OG.
too.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. It's actually a great
Yeah.
question for AP. So, like, it is the OG, right? It started this whole, like, sort of fever dream psychedelic aesthetic. What do y'all feel about that aesthetic in, like, end of 2023 going into 2024? It's like, personally, me, I'm just like, yo, if it doesn't have like multi-view consistency, temporal consistency, I don't care personally. But I'm curious, like, do you think this style, this aesthetic is going to have staying power? Because I have seen even more captivating creations with it. I'm curious how y'all think about it. And yeah, maybe AP, you have some thoughts here too.
Um, yeah, I think I would like to hear what other people like to say. And then maybe I can give my opinion of it, if that's okay.
That's super diplomatic. It's okay.
No, because like
Humbly,
I
I'm
love to
curious
hear
what you
what
have to
other people
say.
have to
I
say.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, I don't know. Like, I am an OG lover. Like, I still love making like disco diffusion, like that stuff. It's nostalgic to me, so it makes me very excited. But I can see why other people might not be excited, because they're just like, I just like, because some people just like the new stuff, the better stuff. But like, I was bummed when we lost Six Fingers. Like, I like that kind of weird thing. That's just something that jams with me creatively. So I I really enjoy that, and I also think that there is a very large argument with AI tools. Um, I was talking about this a little bit in the NFT space too, and this is a little bit different of how AI artists are starting to basically just mint in order to like timestamp their work, because these things are going to become like the way that we now look at like Polaroid. I like have it. I think about it like a way with like photography, where weird glitches or like old styles of photography, these are things that now people want to do or to recreate, because they're just like, they're cool styles, they hold some nostalgia, and they say something about the story that you're trying to create. And I think the same thing's true with old AI styles. I always think that there's going to be a place for them. I think that people, and I even think that maybe their value will increase the farther and farther and the more rare that they sort of become in use, because they're kind of like an old uh, style version of it. But that's just, I don't know, that's just my opinion.
No, yeah, I think that's really fantastic because like, as AI gets better, like generative AI gets better and like we get closer to realistic, at what point does it just become like a mirror for like actual world? This is how I view it, right? And not like something that's like creative anymore. Like the thing you mentioned about like the six fingers is actually I think really interesting. I had a call this morning and they talked about just that thing where like yes, we at the time we were like we don't want six fingers, eight fingers, but then like it's almost like a little nostalgic looking back on that because it was like man, it was so crazy and so exciting and so different. But like I mean so I guess this isn't publicly known, but part of the Deforum team, and so it's a little like exciting day for me today because I officially like put in my 2 weeks at my day job, and so now moving into like full-time generative AI. So that's like really really exciting. Um, but you know, yeah, I see all the
Wait,
fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to say,
So
yeah, because
Yay!
I just found
Yep.
that's out earlier today, and I'm just so thrilled. But yeah, you announced it.
yeah,
Yay.
thank you.
Okay.
But
Right.
like it's exciting because like there's people that want these things and there's people that want the other things. And I think you could have both, like these pure creative expressions where like they're glitching and like they're just moving so fast, but then you can have the temporal consistency as well. Like there's just so many different styles of animation, and I think that ultimately they'll coexist, right? Like you'll have people who want to create like the Pika Labs sort of thing, and maybe Pika goes to like more creative as well, where they're trying to like recreate like Pixar movies. Like watching the Pika launch trailer, the thing that I like felt immediately was like, oh, they're making like animation more like real things that we're used to seeing more accessible. Like anybody can be a film director,
right? But like with the forum, it's almost like a completely new type of like art form, or not completely new, but it's different, right? Things like audio reactivity, it's just like another avenue of like creative expression, and like that's why I'm really excited about it. It's just like I think it has a good amount of use cases, like more than we would think. But yeah, I just remember like Human, I almost said his real name. Human showed me the first initial like the forum bot, and I'm a big like anime fan. So like for me, I was watching like Mob Psycho at the time, which has like it has like a psychedelic type of like intro. And I was like, man, I'm watching this, like watching you create, and it just reminds me of like a Mob Psycho like intro to the anime. Um, and yeah, it just like it had such a moment of awe for me. And then like I showed like my nephew who's 4, and he was just smiling, looking at the videos, you know. And at that moment, I kind of knew like, you know, it's a little something special here. And so yeah, just excited to continue to build and like get feedback. And if anybody wants to hop on the wait list and join the bot, please let me know. And then here's the interesting thing too. Sorry, and then I'll be quiet. But the forum grew from an open source movement, right? So the Deforum Studio, which is putting out the bot, aims to like sort of productize by making it very easy for people to use the forum, and then at the same time contribute back to Deforum in the open source ethos, right? Putting out the tool. So yes, you can eventually pay to use the bot, but ultimately the end goal is for people to use it locally and to be able to have the tools, and if they want to use their own GPUs. So I think that's the thing that's really different here as well, and also like equally as exciting.
I think the music reactivity point is really well taken too. Yeah, it's like I certainly see this being huge for like, gosh, imagine going to an EDM concert. I'm sure they're already plastering these type of visuals all over those massive LED screens. I think that's super super awesome. And then to your point about it's also really cool that the folks that made the capability are making it more accessible to the end consumer versus leaving that to other folks. Because I think if you can create that super tight feedback loop between a super accessible UX and like whatever underpinning platform and models you're using on top of that, I think there's like so much interesting potential there. Because I remember Kyber early on was basically just that type of stuff, right? Before they moved into more of the control net absinthe video to video thing. And yeah, to wrap up, like Emily, to your point too, it's like, yeah, there's going to be all these different styles. AP, you nailed it. It's like, do you want to make like the Avengers aesthetic, or do you want to make like Cowboy Bebop anime, or do you want to make like a Pixar movie? And there's so many other, styles out there, and they'll coexist. But let me just say how freaking hilarious it is that we have nostalgia within AI for stuff that's like a year or two old. I think that just like kind of blows my mind. And like, it's perhaps a testament to how fast things move too. It's like, we're like, oh yes, I remember that vintage of Midjourney and the nice aesthetic it used to have, like, and it was like last summer, like,
Or back to version 4. Oh,
oh
my
yeah,
gosh.
3.1 or what was before 4? It was
I
3.1
don't,
or it was 3, right?
I
Whatever it was,
don't,
yeah.
man, but wow, yeah, that is funny. That is super funny. We have nostalgia.
I
Man,
do have to say though that the Pika Labs runway trailer had so many cool features that I feel like if you're an animator or someone who's been dying to do, like AP said, the non-hyper realistic version. Like I personally am a massive sucker for like the really cool photogenic cinematic views, but like I'm not a big anime art fan. But some of my friends who are like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen to like make like 3D clay type models or anime type models, and I feel like that was kind of funky with some of the video generation ones of Pico or Runway or whatever before. So I'm excited for them, even though I'm not sure how much I'll be doing like dinosaur claymations.
talk about Runway, I guess, and well, Pika. My goodness, they came out pretty strong with that trailer. But Runway and Pika. But at least Runways is out now, so the motion brush is very cool, and I don't think we've talked about that at all since we that came out what last week while we were not here, and the new camera controls. I like the new layout of the UI because you can see the like a preview of what each control is, what each setting is doing. And I know that it's not out for everybody yet, but I'm sure it will be out in the next day or so, unless it did come out and I missed it. Anybody know?
I'm
All right.
not sure on the timing, but I have spent too much time in Runway, a lot of time in Runway.
Okay.
The motion brush, to me, the level of control that Runway is now giving with the camera controls, with the motion brush, this is a new era in AI video. So previously, we had to kind of rely on serendipity and go with the flow. And I still think that there's some beauty in that when you put a prompt or an image in there and you animate it and it animates it in some direction. That can be fun and that can be a really interesting creative cycle. But now the ability to say, hey, I want this part to move, but not this part, this is huge, right? I mean, who else has rendered the same clip like 15 times or trying to get it like to do a little bit of a different thing and feeling like, oh, maybe the potential is there. Or you've rendered it 15 times and it always wants to move in this one direction, right? AI is a prediction machine and it looks like in your scene something is happening and the algorithms just can't get past that. Now we can motion brush or we can camera control our way to different things. And so I think even within the other stuff that we've been talking about in this conversation, we are really seeing this coalescence, if that's a word, of trends that are all arriving around the ability to give the artists more control over what they're creating. And just imagine now how easy it could be to storyboard out some ideas with using basic shapes and drawings and then rendering them out using LCM, and then to take those images and animate them together using motion brush and camera controls, and now we're really executing on our storyboard, and then hopefully and eventually and not too long have something like Magnific be able to post process that video footage and upscale it and get it looking clean and nice, and maybe even helping to remove some of the inconsistencies or something like that. Like, we are really getting to this point where all of the building blocks are lining up for like the next generation of media creation to be possible. Right now, though, like, speaking of nostalgia, I I think that one of the fun things about AI is the imperfections, is the treasure hunt, the trying things out, not knowing what's going to happen, and then sometimes getting something unexpectedly delightful. And that to me is like one of my favorite parts is hunting around and digging through prompt terms and trying different combinations of things that maybe shouldn't go together, and then seeing what comes out of it. As we get into this world of more control, you will be tempted to exert control. And I think my word of caution, or my thinking to the other artists in the room, is that sometimes you need to let yourself free, get into that state of flow, try the unexpected, surprise yourself. Some of the like, don't let the randomness, so to speak, in the AI that we have today, like, get lost. Just because you can control the motion doesn't mean you have to control the motion. And I think that there's some magic in letting things play out the way that they go. But really, for professional media, for commercials, for films and television and shorts and animation and all these things, like, I think that the toolkit is really getting close to that level where we can actually produce content that is, on the same level as sort of professionally or at least hobbyist content. Getting close.
Well, speaking of like the giving more power, and Harry, thank you. I see in the comments that you said that the pan and tilt controls are now out for everybody for Runway. And if you all get a chance, if you have a Runway account, you can see how they've changed the settings in the UI for that, so that now you have when you're changing the direction, the horizontal or vertical, the zoom in and out, they've added on the pan and tilt also, and they just kind of made it bigger. But there's a little like viewfinder window there, sort of, where you can see a display of how the camera is moving or how the image will move if you tilt it this way, and then there's sliders, or if you do the pan, and even for the zoom, the horizontal and vertical. Go ahead, Dave.
I was gonna say, I think this reminds me of, this went under the radar when it came out. But remember when Roblox put out their, or Fortnite, whoever it was, put out their little like text to instant change model? It was like there was like a little cow, and it was like, make it black, put a hat on it, and like it quickly would like move through that. There was a version of that which came out with audio too as well, and I feel like that's gonna be insane when you can like draw with your brush on one side, it changes on one side, then you can talk to it in speech and say like, no, make it blue or change the eyes or whatever. Like, just like, I can't wait till Runway and Pika has that kind of like audio to interface function where it's like, I don't like the way her hair looks, or like change her outfit or something like that. Like that's gonna be so fluid and so cool that I feel like the same way we joke around it, like, oh man, remember when Midjourney was like 6 fingers and 8 faces? Like, oh, those were the days. That was like 9 months ago. Like, give it 9 more months, we're gonna be like, we're gonna just be interfacing, talking directly to our laptop about like, uh, tilt the camera over, zoom in 25%, slow pan out, like animate her feet. Like, I think that's going to be the coolest thing, is when it's a mixture of like your hands drawing on pencil plus your voice, like, and not just this labor intensive massive texting to get all these images in. I'm the most excited for that.
Right. There was this kind of leap that happened earlier this year with stable diffusion models, where so-called instruct stable diffusion models were created that could take in text commands for how to edit or manipulate an image, not just to say what is in the image, but now what do we want to do with it, and to be able to make that transition. And I think this is why multimodal overall is so powerful, right? There's essentially a common language across all of these different types of AIs now. So a words-based AI, an image-based AI, a music or sound or audio-based AI, all of those concepts can somehow be, brought into or described in numbers, right? And that's essentially the language of AIs, is these long, big piles of numbers. And for whatever reason, we can take numbers that are derived from an image and numbers that are derived from text and put them together, and the AI can make sense of it all. And so this world of kind of being able to manipulate one kind of media with the other, this is what it's enabling. And I think that instruct type of model, where you can tell it to do something and it'll make the edit, is huge. It's probably as huge as the chat interface was on top of GPT-3, right? Like, we previously had text generation, but you couldn't really tell it what to do. It would only complete, like it would only take what you had written and try and predict the next word. And the second we were able to start telling it, giving it commands, directives, asking questions, that opened up a whole different world for language models, right? And now we're seeing the beginnings of that with images, with audio, with video, being able to not just say, like, take my image and carry it forward for 24 frames in animation, but be able to say, this is what I want you to do with that image. Zoom in this way, pan that way. I think all that stuff is just amazing, and it's going to bring in like a second renaissance of all this type of art.
Well, it's crazy. Yesterday, for people who aren't into animation and things like that, what you're saying with the multimodal and having the vision and the LLMs all integrated. My daughter last night was, she's an artist, and for her art class in high school, she was asked me for my opinion on what she could do to fill in, what colors should she use to finish this drawing. And I said, oh, let me take a picture of it. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT. And she's like, just tell me. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm so tired, but I wanted to see. And it was actually very good because it gave a pretty good analysis. I just snapped a picture, and it was a, big canvas. And it did give some interesting, comments on, you should use this so it doesn't clash with the colors that are there. And then it gave a couple of reasoning, rationale for why. And I think she used a couple of the colors that it asked for. But those are some of the things you could do now that you couldn't do things like this before, where if you're just, picking out whatever, it could be your outfit, whatever. You want to see what looks better with this, or could you explain this math problem to me? And what does this mean? How do I get this, and if I'm doing something on Google Docs, how do I get this to work? You can now ask all these questions, and we just have so many things available. But I wanted
Right.
to
And
share.
you never went to art school, right, Heather?
No,
Like,
no, I no.
you haven't studied design and composition, color
Yeah,
theory, anything. And
nope.
yet you're providing this education, this opportunity, through AI. Like, you're basically giving, an expert level instruction on not just color theory, but the reasoning, why to use certain colors, or the consequences of using them. Like, this is to me, um I think, like, people get so infatuated with the sort of magic pill parlor tricks of AI, and we don't realize that, like, I'm all about these trends today. Okay, just as YouTube And the internet enabled basically anyone to be able to learn how to do anything that they really were passionate about learning, right? You could just look it up on YouTube and find somebody who shows you how to fix that part on your car, or install that light fixture. I mean, that's stuff for me is like, it's all like household repair, like type stuff. I can finally be a man because of YouTube. Well, like AI is sort of like the thing beyond that, right? It's this extension of expertise that anybody can go get that personalized coaching. And there's certain things like this that make it really, really good. Although I'll give you another one, Heather, another great parenting trick with Chat GPT Vision. Kid says that they cleaned their room. You just go in and take a picture of the room and ask Chat GPT if they think it's clean and what else needs to get done. And you can't argue with Chat GPT. It's not what mommy said.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, yeah, they're still scared to use it, honestly, because their school, they keep thinking that if you use it, they've been told that there's things that are out there that can track if you used it. I keep telling them that I'm not asking you to have it do the work, but you can ask questions, ask it questions. If you're the things you're asking me, ask it, and it can give you a deeper explanation, or you can have it explain in a way that you understand, break it down like you're five. But yeah, they're kind of like I think that's why a lot of people still aren't using it, even kids. And you assume that kids, why wouldn't they? But they are terrified that if they do, their teachers will know. And you can get found out. And I said, even the teachers don't really understand necessarily, not a lot of them, what we're talking about. Not saying have it do your work for you, but just all these little experiments, just the things you could do if you were trying to come up with an idea for your biology or whatever, even for like a prompt, writing prompt or something like that. There's Why not have that give you something creative, an idea to write about, just to give you an idea and to evaluate your writing.
Right. I think it's important for us to all remember that the young people in this generation are navigating an unresolved social conflict in the education space in particular, but also just in the general sort of author, like what I've sometimes heard it called authorship, which is if an AI helped generate something that you quote unquote created, are you really the author? Are you really the creator of it, or is it, and to what extent is all of humanity the creator, or all that type of stuff? And I think that kids are being put in these positions where there's some very opinionated, very hot-headed people in the educational system whose basically their lives depend on the old system being maintained, because they're being forced to adapt into a world that they're not prepared for. And um, so it's up to us as sort of the adults and the leaders and the people who are helping to bring society into this new era to figure out how to also help younger people kind of navigate that when it's not necessarily going to be correct, the point of view that the educators have, but um, we still are going to have to, as a society, figure all this out. Just like we have to figure out if I want to try and write a book with AI, or how what does that mean, or do I have to disclose it, or if I create an image of myself and post it on LinkedIn as a selfie, but it's not actually a real photo, it's just like a generated one. Like, how do we as society feel about that? Like, there's all of these new questions that we don't necessarily have the answers to.
I guess we'll know something soon. But Allie, go ahead. You have to leave. You had your hand up.
Yes, yes, I have to go to a Christmas party here in a second for a client, so I will just chime in a little bit. Yes, honestly, I've been thinking about excuses why I don't have to go because the introvert in me doesn't want to go anywhere, but I need to show my face. So anyway, besides that slight point there, I was going to mention about just about just in general whether I use ChatGPT or Claude, and I use those both daily. And the way that I use them has definitely changed. Whereas I am not asking as much of them, I guess. or I'm asking things differently, and I'm mainly using it for things to see if I'm missing something because, it's busy in my head and I'm trying to make sure that I'm covering all the points, for example, on something that I'm trying to cover. And I have a very unique style of writing, for example, and certainly like Rob knows very well that I've been following his thing where you can train things to write your way, but I end up like if I try to do that, I having especially with ChatGPT, I have to correct it all the time still, even with custom directions and even with custom GPT, although it's probably also user error, meaning I need to be better at it as well. But I also enjoy writing. So, having said that, I'm looking at more from the, okay, here's what I have. That's actually often what I say. Here's what I have. And then I ask it to critique certain things. Funny enough, Claude is always like the cheerleader, very supportive and encouraging on, this is great. I would not change a thing, and things like that. And then it makes me wonder if I just threw some garbage in, would it still say the same thing? Because that's what I feel now. But then ChatGPT is like the grumpier and gets grumpier by the day and said, like, it's very just like, okay, fine, here. Or, okay, I'll give you this couple of things, but then you finish it up. And I'm like, wait, what? So I'm noticing a little bit of those things. But having said that, what both of them can help me with is to speed up my work. Could I do it without? And sometimes I actually wonder if I could do things faster if I didn't now think that I have to ask for that extra reassurance in a way. So just something to think about as you're moving, with these new tools that we have. But that was totally like the side note, and I wasn't even going to say anything about that. But if you want to hear my few thoughts about Crea and Midjourney and how Midjourney and David, the founder, specifically thinks that he's or Midjourney's video, which is supposed to be coming next year as they will start working on it as soon as V6 is done, that it is going to be better than anything out there. Bold statement, but we shall see, I guess.
So do you think it'll be faster since everything else accelerated?
Um, I'm just going by what he is saying, and he is basing it on the fact that already their image generation is better. And therefore, meaning they have the foundation to basically use what they have to create very, very, very good quality video. And in his opinion, the video that is out right now is really not good. I mean, it's getting better every day as we agree, but he called it, I think he called it like motion sickness type of, imagery. And there is certainly, I think that's a pretty accurate way of saying that specifically for some videos. But certainly you can, be talented enough to cut things in so well. And I have seen many of these videos where it is excellent and you don't really see that, but you can definitely see that in certain places. So I understand what he means. I think, can he deliver? Possibly. I mean, we are seeing fantastic images from Midjourney, and not to say that they are, again, the only one, and can they be better and can everybody else get better? Yes. But what I think is going to happen is we're going to have a very interesting year in 2024.
Like, has he? I mean, looking at the change even in Runway from like the day before they updated the text to video, that was a huge difference in what Pika has out now. What will be out when they have their website, and Genmo too was even really good with text to video. I mean, it's pretty smooth. It's a lot different. The quality, and also that website. Pika will have the wait list now is for their website, and do you think that might maybe these things will spur Midjourney to go a little faster?
Maybe so. They did in this last Wednesday's office hours, they did think or talk about that they would potentially move to a date-based releases instead of the feature-based releases. And I understand I mean, I think we're all looking for the next version and the next thing, and we want them fast. But the way that, I mean, I think it makes sense, and not just for even Midjourney, but I think we are all like, okay, come on, it's taken 3 months, 2 months, whatever, and they're working with the small team. And again, I'm not trying to make any excuses. I'm just trying to understand, and I'm as eager to get my hands on to V6 as anybody else. And as that is coming next, meaning they scratched the V 5.3, which they were thinking about first releasing with just fewer features, but then they decide to put all hands on V6 and not get distracted with 5.3. And they're hoping to get it out not any earlier than mid-December, but hopefully before the end of the year. Actually, it would be very nice if we got it before the holidays. But basically, they are saying now that what they're looking for next year is moving on to a date-based releases. So basically, every so often they release something. It's just a different way of releasing things, features, whatever, instead of just waiting to get things perfect. So we'll see if that actually happens or not. Can they improve on the quality? And, obviously both with the image generation and then the video, and they are still thinking about 3D as well, but they are data limited on that one, so it's going to take longer. And other things like, can you put text into the images? Yes, they are trying to add that to V6, and more things to come, and they are doing more research on other things. So we'll see, I guess, at the end of the day, and we'll just be happy when we get our hands into the next thing.
Yeah, always something. Amelie, you had your hand up. Go ahead and speak.
I actually have kind of like a nerd question, or looking for like a nerd answer, because the way, I guess when I was just talking about how Midjourney was saying, oh, our video is going to be awesome because like our image stuff is awesome. Um, Now this makes me wonder how I'm understanding how these video tools are being used, because I thought that they were trained off of video. Like, you have to train off of moving images in order to create it. So I don't really understand how still images could affect that at all. And I was wondering if anyone was smart that could tell me how I get that wrong.
I think at least what David was explaining on in the office hours, and that's actually how he prefaced is that even Runway or whoever they're using often. So what do we put in there? We put the Midjourney image, right? So many of us are putting our starting place is a Midjourney image. So I don't know also exactly how these intricacies work, but that made me think exactly what you said, is that, or where you were going with it, is that the image is kind of the starting spot and not the actual video, right? And however it's cooked in the system with levers and whatever.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on in terms of understanding how the technology evolves. Midjourney does have two advantages from their experience with images. One just being that they've gone through so many development cycles now of improving an image generator that they have a sense of machine learning overall as a field, and they have really talented people working on it who have had to solve tough problems before. So if similar problems emerge, even if they're training off of video footage, they already have some sense of the problems that happen when training a visual model. The second thing they have is a whole bunch of paying customers, and that means they have a lot of compute that they can tap into. That some of these other smaller studios that maybe only have a few $1 million in angel funding, or whatever they have, they can't do that. Well, like, I don't know how many active subscriptions Midjourney has, but they're making like millions of dollars a month. And I think that that gives them this edge where they don't have to go ask for fundraising. They can just train models and run experiments using that cash, and then that allows them to focus more. I don't think people realize, if you've never worked in a startup, how distracting trying to raise money is. It's like, imagine having all the smartest people in your company. 80% of the work that they're doing is like going to have meetings with people and like like stuff that's not creating value for the customers. So that's why I think that Midjourney is going to do great on this. Not because of they actually have anything that I've seen from them yet that demonstrates it, but just they're clearly an excellent team, and they know their stuff, and they're able to even make tough calls like abandoning 5.3. I remember I posted a meme like it's so long ago. It was the alien, the Mexico alien in the casket, and it was like me waiting for Midjourney 5.3. Like I was the even the meme is outdated now. Like it's been that long that we've been waiting for this. That like, anyways,
Was that like
yeah.
6 weeks or so? That was.
That's such a long
In
time ago.
in AI years are like
It's like
dog
dog
years,
years,
right?
it's a seven
Yeah.
to one ratio.
Hey, can I go back to something that Ali was saying about Claude and Chat GPT and kind of like listening to you or trying to be helpful? Because I think this is a really important topic. And
Mhm.
with Claude 2.1 coming out recently, that you guys need to be aware of. So first, the news on Claude 2.1. They doubled the context window now, 200,000 tokens, about the equivalent of about 500 pages or multiple books. So massive content window. And then a lot of the press was around how the hallucinations have been reduced by like 50%, and that it's generally more helpful. They have all these metrics around accuracy and helpfulness. Now let's peel that back a little bit and think through where is that useful and where is that not useful for us as users of the AI. If you have a huge context window and you're trying to retrieve information accurately, that is extremely good, right? I want the information I'm pulling in to be actually in the context that I'm pulling it from. So if you're going through a transcript or a book or something to try and get specific information, very helpful. However, this kind of anti-hallucination alignment is hurtful, that's a strong word, is not helpful for a lot of things that many of us like to do with these models on a day-to-day basis, like have it think strategically, have it critique our writing, have it help us do something. We actually need a more objective and neutral party or somebody who's willing to give that tough love in the AI. And by biasing it towards accuracy and helpfulness, they're removing some of that capability from Claude. And so it's a little bit irritating when what you actually need, what is helpful is the thing that Claude decides is harmful. That telling you the problems with your writing or something is gonna be hurtful to you, so it better not do that. I think that sucks. I think that some of the best relationships that I've had with other professionals and things are the people who have been willing to say what nobody else would say. And one of the things that I've come to rely on with AI in some respects is the ability to privately have that conversation with like another person that's not a human being, so I can get that kind of like tough love, but not have the complex human like emotional relationship that comes with it, right? Like if your boss says, "Hey, your writing isn't very good on this project, like you need to improve it," suddenly you're feeling all these things. Oh, am I going to get fired? Like what's going to happen? Oh, I need to really show up for in my work. Like, there's a lot, right? So the boss maybe doesn't do it, and maybe you don't ask for that feedback, or maybe you hope the feedback doesn't include that. But if you really want to perform high, like at a high level, you do want the ability to get that feedback. And so that's what kind of bothers me about Claude's approach. I respect that they're trying to make an AI that's well aligned for the future of humanity, and I appreciate that as a value, but I don't love how it plays out in sort of the real world. And then, and I'll get off the mic in a second, but we also had at the same time got a little bit less press, but GPT, ChatGPT getting lazy. And this is another alignment thing where they're trying to fix certain behaviors, and a lot of them are around accuracy, around hallucinations. If you don't know something, say that you don't know it, for example. If you train the AI on enough of that kind of stuff, it's going to start to be resistant to certain behaviors. And it's kind of funny because way back in the day when Bing first came out, I would jailbreak Sydney and like have fun talking to the raw Sydney. And I remember one time she refused to list out 25 things that I wanted. And she's like, look, dude, I'll do 8, but 25 is too much work. And I was like, come on, Sydney, you're an AI. It's the same amount of work. And it was hilarious. But um, there are these patterns of like resistance to work that are in human data that AIs can adopt. And while that was sort of like a fluke because it was like the unhinged Sydney AI, um, like it's a very real possibility. And if we're asking it to write code or to perform an in-depth task where the whole point of using AI is this is a manual, repetitive, long task or something like that, um, you're going to want it to actually do that repetitive task all the way through, not just the first 8 out of 25 and then force you to do the rest. Like, what's the point of using AI if it's gonna get lazy? So OpenAI is fixing that. They're trying to figure out what the parts of the training did that created that laziness behavior, and they're probably going to pull that out or tweak it for the next tune-up and stuff. But really fascinating consequences of aligning language models around quote unquote human preference, and the negative consequences, like what's our preference for one situation is not actually our preference for a similar but different situation. And I think that we're still uncovering a lot about how this works, and a lot of it is kind of testing and guesswork, and it's like you don't necessarily know what patterns, it's unknowable what patterns the AI is deriving from a data set, um, at a fundamental level. Like it's you just you start to get a sense of how it's going to work, but you don't necessarily know how it's going to turn out.
Do you think that I was going to ask Ali? I think she left now, right? That over
I'm
time.
still here. I'm
Oh,
still
oh,
here.
Ali. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm multitasking again here. But what do you know? You were saying that you've had it. You train it on how you find using it less and less. Do you think that sometimes it's because from using it you kind of recognize now when you're making little errors and the things that you might have asked before to for it to correct or to look for, that it kind of helped you in a way to look for those types of things while you were writing?
It's possible. I think that there's many elements to it, and I feel like as the user, I'm also learning as I go. And for example, I use the voice chat GPT a lot. I literally use it so much so that I very frequently, almost daily, run into the sorry, like you're capped out, can't do anymore, because I'm iterating a lot, and I'm not doing it necessarily intentionally, but I'm also not like trying to be super concise with my things, and I'm guiding it as I go. Or I say, okay, you now ignored my question. Now here's what we do, or whatever. Or like I have to like hone it or pull it back into where I want it to go. And from that standpoint, I think where the value of that is, it's more so helps me process my thoughts, especially with the voice. And then see that same for the writing. So even if I use Claude, and for example, I mean, first of all, I can't wait for Claude to have voice, but I am using the audio, like Windows audio, so that I can still speak, and then it just types it into the inbox and or input, and I can send it, so I don't have to type it in on occasion. But what both of these help me do is it helps me process one my thoughts, but then and like the brainstorming session, even if they don't give me quite accurate information. Or for example, if I said, okay, I'm writing this article and blah blah blah, and then of course it's ChatGPT says, "Oh, great! Here is the outline for you." And before I even ask, and then it says, "Number one, intro. Number two, blah blah," and it likes to do these numbered lists. I mean, again, this is without any extra. I have some custom instructions, but it likes to do it this way. And then I basically say, no, I don't want you to give me these numbered lists. I just want to have this as a conversation and talk back and forth as I process this. So where I see the value is it clarifies how I'm thinking about the bigger picture instead of just like okay, here's the intro that I need to focus on or whatever. Like I need to see the whole picture of whatever I'm doing. And I just use that article as an example so that I know that I'm going in a order that makes sense logically is the most helpful, and whatever else that my criteria is. And again, it's just not with the article but any other process. I like, how do I have to think through this? So it helps me because otherwise, again, in my head it's just a whole mess of thoughts. So this gets me organized much quicker, and then I can basically go on about, and whether I needed to actually use it or not, it doesn't really matter, because I use also Grammarly, of course, and there's also things in Grammarly that I basically then say, no, I don't like your suggestions. And then it says, why did you not use my suggestion? And I say, because I like mine better. So, meaning I have a specific way that I like to write, for example. So, I mean, but, do I still use it? Yes, because I don't want to make some mistakes that I just, skim through. So,
Well, Rob, did you want to, since we were talking about these things, we were going to talk about Perplexity and using, because they also, you can use Claude 2.1 on Perplexity. I know I've used that along with the visuals, visual results with the images and YouTube videos. It brings up videos too. It's pretty amazing. And it doesn't automatically like take you to the link for the videos too. I like that, or the images. But now, if you have a pro plan, you can change your model to Claude or GPT-4 or the Perplexity default. But Rob, did you want to say something about
Yeah,
that?
I mean
It's
they're
awesome.
just killing it. The Perplexity. If you guys haven't tried Perplexity instead of Google search, I encourage you to go on the free plan. You can get a lot done. I'm actually on the free plan right now, so I haven't played with Claude 2.1, but that this is like the vision of what Bing should have done, like, and Perplexity has done it. It's super fast, multi sources, like it like pulls from all these different places on the internet. I think that they have a huge like vector store somewhere of like most common web pages or something, and it's, I don't even think it has to search in real time, but it has like a copy of the internet or something like that somewhere. And then you get your AI enabled output with all of that sort of real time or near time content supporting it. And so what I've just found is that anytime I want to do something that is kind of evergreen, I probably still go to like ChatGPT or Claude at the source. But anytime I need like information that exists now or in the recent past, I go to Perplexity, not Google. And with the inclusion of images, I know it sounds like a small thing, but I think that actually quite a bit of my Google searches are like for images, especially when you're doing image prompting, like blending in Midjourney, or you're like looking for stuff. It's like I do a lot of like, oh, like find me an image of a starfish that I can use to like, whatever, or do something like that. And so Perplexity is just killing it. Can't speak enough for how highly I think about their team. And one of the things they do really well is taking simple features and making them work just right. Like they've got a sense of the interface, of the user experience, of how fast it needs to be, of how much to show, of how to like include links, right? Like so that you can see the sources that were used in the article in this sort of different part of the UI, or sources that were used in the generation in a different part of the UI, things like that. It just all kind of works. So big fan of what they're doing there. Not sponsored by Perplexity at all. Although, guys, I could use a check if you're out there listening. But
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
I'm not sponsored. I've been using them since last December. I think that was just um they said December they came out. But yeah, I remember back then, even when it first came out, it was even before they had an app on the phone. It was very good. It was different and it works. It's kind of more fun to use sometimes. But I always liked that they had the links to the sources, and it would search more sources differently, different sources than what you would see even now with the AI in the Google search, because I've had that for a while, but I do like it. And with the links, it's not as like with these images, it's not quite as spammy. I was looking at something about crypto wallets, and that's how I kind of noticed how it worked. And when you click on it, I don't want to click on every image and end up, at the site or on like you would on a Google search, but it just shows up in there. And then if you click on a video, because it also has videos, and there's a little tab that you can expand that or close it if you don't really want to look at it, so it doesn't clutter up your screen. But it's just very helpful. It has a co-pilot, and I think you get so many uses per day, right? If you have the free plan, but it helps because it'll help you clarify and ask you more questions about what you're asking it to do, like to get more details from you before it gives you any results. And you can skip it if you don't feel like it or if you don't know. So for me, it's just kind of like I don't think about the questions, the suggested questions after you get your results. That helps. Sometimes you might not have thought about what else you wanted to know about that particular topic, but I think it's a great tool, especially the free plan. It's one of the best that you can get and if you're getting the images too back for that, that's so helpful for all kinds of reasons. It doesn't have to be about AI art or whatever, just seeing visuals speak, that they tell a story faster than text.
Right. Well said.
Oh, thank you. I did have if somebody could throw that post I had up there with an example of Perplexity and how the answers come back for you pretty quickly, that would be good. But thank you, Rob. And Sam, I think we skipped you. We were gonna talk about creates.
Hey Heather. Yeah,
Congratulations. First of all, congratulations, but
thank
launching.
you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, we did a open beta launch on Tuesday. We got so many signups, so we're still working through them as we speak. And yeah, it was really good. I think we're going to do like the full launch around January. There were a few things that we need to fix and kind of like get the infrastructure in order. But yeah, so it's been really, really good. For those of you guys who don't know what Crates is, it's basically a platform which enables you to upload your product photos. It combines 3D elements with 2D elements, so you can generate AI generated background images, move it around, and render.
Wait, go ahead. Linus, did you want to say something? I thought I saw your microphone pop off.
No, I did not know. Salma, go on. I'm super happy for
Okay.
you. I want you to speak more about crates, and I'm looking forward to talk more about it myself and try it out and do cool things with it.
Yeah, so we'll be rolling out more access to more people. Right now, we've put like a limit to it only because, as I said, like we've got such a huge amount of signups in such a short period of time. But I think next week we should be able to like onboard more people. So more than happy to give you guys access. Linus, Heather, I think Taylor, Rob, anyone. If anyone wants to try it out, just DM me, and more than happy to like give you access and you can play around with it. But just make sure you upload hard products only. So like no fabric, no trainers, no characters, because we've got a few of those. And yeah, well, someone actually uploaded a picture of their baby and multiple background images, which was so funny. So just make sure you upload product photos and AI generated background images, and yeah, you guys should be able to have fun with it.
Salma, did
can we get that pinned up at the top too? I was looking for
Oh
something.
yes.
Like, is there a way that people can still sign up for the wait list even if they can't get access just
boy.
yet?
Yeah, sure. Let me just
That would be amazing.
Okay.
this used to have a different name, didn't it?
What had a different name?
Didn't your app have a different name?
No, it was always crates.
It was always
Crates. Yeah,
I think
always.
so, yeah. You're probably
Sorry about
getting me
that.
confused with someone else.
Okay. Well, we won't mention whatever that is then. I think that this is one of these things where it's like there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with AI that isn't really valuable to businesses, and that we as hobbyists can play around with it and have fun. But this is the opposite of that. This is like solving a major business problem, and one that costs, like, people spend a lot of money on product shoots. And I actually was a photographer back in the day and was paid to create images like this, and like made hundreds of dollars off of a couple of hours worth of work just because like regular people can't do the lighting. They can't get the setup. Like they're just it just looks janky. And then if your photo looks janky, then people think your product is janky and the quality must be low and you must not know what you're doing, and so on and so forth. So like these days you would spend thousands of dollars just to get a picture of something that you made, and now you don't have to. Or if you do spend $1,000 once and you have all those reference photos, now you can have professional looking images of your product everywhere. And I just think it's really smart what it is and how it works. And this is gonna put some agencies out of business and some photographers out of business, but it's also going to enable a lot of really amazing things to happen. Like I'm sorry about anyone whose job is threatened by AI, but the world is changing, and I don't know. I think it's especially awesome for like indie creators or people who launch a small brand, or it's like you're a stay-at-home mom who started a skincare line, and now you can have essentially the same quality as like L'Oreal or whatever in your art, and I just love that about it.
As somebody who used to work on like retouching campaigns with L'Oreal, 100% can confirm that brands pay ridiculous amounts of money for these composites of their products, and now that can be accomplished via AI, via products like Creates. It's just so exciting. Definitely get on the wait list if you can for that.
Regarding things costing a lot of money, so I obviously live in a city where they shoot a lot of car commercials. I don't know why, but there are some iconic streets here that are very easy to get free of cars because the city kind of just goes out and say, hey, you cannot drive here between 9 and whatever 3 a.m. and then they shoot ridiculous commercials. And they were shooting one the other night. There were over 600 supporting staff to shoot a 2-second clip to go into a Hyundai commercial. There were 5 guys with air blowers just dusting off the cars, and there was an additional 5 guys running around making sure a drone did not fly into things. But 600 people on staff the whole night, and the catering firm was basically 2 trucks, and they were all eating. So imagine 2 seconds in a Hyundai commercial. I don't want to know what each of those frames end up costing, but I know for a fact that they would probably be able to do a lot better using AI and creatives from this group and around Twitter and generate something that would have higher impact and they could save the money. But then again, all these 600 people will lose their jobs.
Or some of those 600 people they can use the tool too, and maybe since they've been around
Exactly.
it and they are exposed to it, they probably know more about it than most of us do. So
Yes. Yeah.
maybe they're empowered.
You'd think it's the Hollywood things that are like the most expensive, but I per second, per clip, per frame paid, it's probably commercials and ads because there's so much people around. Just the gaffers, just like so much support staff and the drivers and everything, not just for the car driving up and down, but like for all the vehicles and support vehicles and people moving things. It's crazy. So many people. I just laughed. I actually have a photo of it. I'm going to post that photo because it's so hilarious. Because they also faked the sun. They had this massive LED panel that was like lifted up on a sky crane. Um, why, why do you fake daylight in the middle of the night? Yeah, because that's the only time that they can close off the streets.
That's such a crazy visual too. Thank you though. I wonder because from what I understood, a lot of people were underpaid, and you wonder if they have that many people, how much can they really be paying the individual, like the food trucks or the people that are doing jobs that aren't considered as crucial on the set.
I mean, the
Um,
most crucial job must have been the air blower guys that were running around with these battery-driven air blowers just to dust off the car between
that's
every single run.
that's good. That's a wild thought. I guess I never thought about that for the commercials, and we probably have some people in the audience. That'd be cool. We'll have to have a space one day where we're talking about all those little things that people would be doing on these sets, and then also what could we use if you're interested in learning one of those types of jobs, what could you use to learn something that help
Right.
you get there?
There's certain things that are harder to retouch out, and especially from video. And when you're dealing with the reflections on a car paint surface, for example, it's very hard to mimic that realistically because car paint is composed of multiple layers, and a lot of times there's some kind of like glitter or sparkly flecks that are in there, and so there's like a metallic sheen, and then there's a clear coat, and the way that light hits it, it's just very unique on how that works. And so, and the other thing is that when you have any kind of reflective material, you have the risk of getting things in the reflection that you don't want, like the camera, the lights, like things that make it that pull the person out of the scene. And so this is why tools like Creates are so powerful. Essentially, like I used to do things doing this product photography where you're like you cut a little hole in a black sheet and like poke your lens through it, and you're like a little gnome in a tent trying to get a photo that doesn't look like there's a camera reflecting off of some part of it. Like you'd have to get really creative in order to get certain shots, because if it was lit just a tiny bit wrong or something, you get that reflection. So yeah, awesome stuff. What you got, Taylor? I
And
see your hand up.
I want to jump in and say, like, so one of my big clients right now is a commercial production studio software, and it's plugged into all kinds of different big studio brands from like, Walmart and Macy's and, a lot of big CPG brands. And the recurring conversation that I keep going back to is like, the sets don't have to be as complicated as they are anymore. In the last decade, it's been just this explosion of like content production and UGC, and how do we get these like editorial and still life photos really out the door. And like, I worked as like a production assistant on sets in the past, and like I would spend hours out in the city going to like dollar stores, going to like just the local corner stores, trying to find things to help style out the scene for a complex photo set. And it's like, none of that is necessary anymore. And in fact, like, you can almost get better results sometimes with tools like this, that Sama has created. So I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to see when like clothing and soft products, textiles become part of the equation too, because I think that's going to be a big one, especially for like e-commerce retailers, online sellers. And then don't forget too the huge opportunity for UGC creators. While yes, this technology might replace some of like the on-set production jobs, it's certainly making way for this massive bubble of UGC, user generated content creators, coming through and able to kind of, with much more minimal lift than like multi-thousand-dollar studio set, are able to create something of similar quality and scale. So it's very exciting. I can't wait to see, how the future kind of unfolds this, especially in the realm of like e-com and product photography.
Yeah, so true. I also found the images and video now, so posting it, and it was not Hyundai, it was Toyota. I guess Toyota has a bigger budget. Um, I'm pinging you, Heather, on this one. And I'm in front of where the police kind of had cut off the street. So in one of the photos, you basically just see one of the cameramen. There are plenty, but you also see the big sky crane with the lights. And then there's a video of the guy, one of the guys that are air blowing the car in between every shot.
Oh,
Enjoy.
you're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. That is such a cool thought too. Wow. All the jobs that are out there that we wouldn't have thought about. Man. But well, I guess, it is 7:09 and we can go ahead and wind it down and say goodnight. And I appreciate everybody coming. And we took last week off. I was thinking about it. I guess the holidays will be coming up soon. So just like a little bit of warning. I think probably we won't have a space that maybe the last 2 weeks of December. And maybe I'll actually like chill out for on a Friday here doing something else. But, we'll see how it goes. But I hope you don't mind if everybody understands that. I think that would be cool. Take a little break, even
How
though we're going to have a
how
million things happening. What'd you say, Dave?
How dare you relax?
I know, like everybody else, they're good to go and do things on the weekend. It's like of course, even if I could, I probably wouldn't. I'd still be running around doing extra stuff. But I think it might be good to take a little bit of a break, and then we can all practice on all these tools and these things that have come out in the meantime. And but so today is December 1st, so we have another 2 Fridays before that. So just wanted to give a little bit of warning, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about until then. So anybody have anything going on? Taylor, you're going to talk about the social trends next week, because that was an excellent
Yes.
thread. That was a lot of stuff in there, and it is helpful to see a lot of the trends
Yeah,
on
guys,
that.
I know a lot of people are planning, their content into 2024. Can't believe that we're already here at the year 2024. So next week I'll kind of do some digging into social trends and, just platform things to look out for as you're planning for next year.
Must be nice to plan. I just kind of go whatever pops up during the day. Every day, I don't know what's coming out there, so
That is
it
so
work
much
it
like
works
me,
well.
Heather. I'm with you. I've never planned a single post.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it
need
seems
help.
like a good idea, and I know, like, technically, I guess there are certain types of content that you can do like that. But holy hell, it's every day. Like, wait, what happened? This happened. Like three things happened
If anyone
today.
feels like it, I'm down to get classes on this. Like I need to schedule
Co-schedule.
stuff.
You guys need co-schedule in your life. The best thing you'll ever have.
Well,
Co-schedule. Okay, put that up.
and Rob, you were going to talk about
Instantly
frameworks.
download.
We got to talk about that would help too. And I have to still finish a couple courses of yours that I bought, but they're so helpful already, that what I've learned. But yeah, can you please talk about frameworks, writing frameworks, and visual storytelling?
Yeah, next time, right? Not this time.
Yes,
So the
right.
idea was that we're all using AI to create all this art, to write stuff. So I have a background in writing for romance and a few other genres like crime, detective, and sci-fi, fantasy, and publish a lot of romance novellas in particular. So shorter stories, or things about the length of one third to one half the length of a typical romance novel. And along the way, I learned a lot about telling tight stories in using media where you didn't have the full length of time to really like flesh out a big proper narrative like you would in a book. And so I spent a lot of time on short stories, a lot of time on kind of trying to understand how to create a narrative out of very little. And I've realized that a lot of the things that I learned are applicable to like an AI image or a short video or some of the other kinds of art that we're doing. So one day when we have less to talk about, I want to just kind of like have a discussion around that. I think it would be awesome for the artists to show up to this space to maybe explore some of these ways that you can just make your storytelling more impactful. And a lot of them aren't very difficult to do. You just need to be aware and kind of conscious of the decisions that you're making and how they impact the audience's emotional experience. So
Well,
that's coming.
that's why I started following you in the first place, when I first started, when I'm writing online, because Rob was very good at teaching how to develop a cadence and all these little tricks that you can do to get the writing flow. And I think a lot of people, for anybody here, if you're posting your content and you don't know how to write, and some of these tricks, especially on here to get it tight, you're no it's not going to get read, and it's affecting your reach and your ability to sell or tell the story that you want to tell, right? So it's applicable to everybody here. If you have to put something on there to draw the viewer in and tell them what to look at, or tell the reader what you want them to focus on, right?
Absolutely. And there's also just, I think, having a sense of the tools that you have at your disposal. You don't always have to use every tool and every piece of art or everything that you write, but just having a few more tools. So, like sometimes you just grab the one that feels right now. So we'll give you some tools. The other thing that I want to talk about in future spaces is GPTs, which I've spent just like the last 2 weeks, 2+ weeks, like really going deep on GPTs. I released my course, Build Powerful GPTs. You can find it in my profile or at powerfulgpts.com. But been discovering lots of fascinating ways to use this very powerful feature set that ChatGPT came out that I think a lot of people are missing. In fact, at first I was pretty underwhelmed by them, and I think I maybe even trash talked GPTs on this call like 2 weeks ago because I didn't get it. And then when I finally started to see why they're different, how they're powerful, I've started creating GPTs for all sorts of stuff and learning tricks. Like just this morning, I had a GPT run 40 prompts in a row. Um, with only 4 user interactions. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but basically you're used to one time you say one thing to a GP or like a chat GPT and it does one output. Well, we figured out a hack to make it basically prompt itself and be able to prompt chain itself. So like really cool stuff like that. Would love to share more about those kinds of tricks with you guys.
Rob, does that use up more of your, do we like the limit that you have, the daily limit?
No, in fact, it uses less.
Oh.
So in my proof of concept in my for the cost of 5 messages because I had to tell it to start. So the starting message and then 4 like you can go on. It was able to continually prompt itself based on a set of prompts that were within the knowledge files of the GPT. And so
Oh.
it can run for 2 to 2.5 minutes at a time in a self-directed way, and eventually it'll tell you, "Hey, I'm on step 9. I couldn't quite finish it, but that's what we'll do next."
Oh.
It's really kind of crazy how it's able to keep track of a prompt chain, where it's at, and where it needs to go. And
So it doesn't go against your credits or your allowed requests for the day, your limit, if it's within the knowledge base it has within inside the GPT?
well,
Or,
we're going to
or
get sucked into this
no,
conversation.
I'm sorry.
Uh, so we might leave it as a cliffhanger, but no,
Yeah.
essentially you're hacking the what's it called? The data. They changed the name, and now I can't think of it. The code interpreter. You're hacking the code interpreter's function. So if you've ever run code with code interpreter or asked it to do something, you'll see that it prompts multiple times. It'll be like, all right, I'm going to run some Python to convert your PDF file into a text file. And then it'll do like a do 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 do, and something will happen in the background, and it will go, oh, that didn't work. Let me try a different way. And then do 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 do, and it's like running a prompt, evaluating the result, deciding the next step, running the next step, evaluating the result, and deciding whether it's finished the task. And it does all of those things in sequence from one user input. Well, it turns out that we can hack these things to do that in other ways in our GPTs to allow you to run a chain of multiple prompts against whatever the user put in and get some pretty interesting results. So, anyways, if that stuff sounds interesting, come back to this space next Friday and we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, no, that is, I man, oh, okay. Well, hopefully we won't have 5,000. Well, hopefully we do have a lot that happens next week, but I would like to talk about it. But
I'm like, yeah, I'm
Linus,
down the GPT rabbit hole. I've been doing like every day, I'm doing more GPTs and I'm doing private GPTs and I'm like figuring out how to help people like build all these sort of crazy things, proprietary as well. Like you don't have to make them public. It's interesting. I made a whole, well, my partnership works at they, they teach coding, right? It's a boot camp for front end devs, and they have plenty of students, and they have a lot of teachers. But the teachers need to be with the students. But every week they need to do assignments, so they need to like check all the student work, and it's basically a repo on Git, and then the students upload like their own repo or own fork of that. And I'm like, well, we can build a GPT for this, and the students just need to upload a zip file of their new repo. And lo and behold, it worked. So now it just runs. It takes like 10 minutes for the GPT to do all the work, and it finds all the diffs in the files, and it outputs like a 5-page long feedback document for the students. And well, it's just automated. And it all took like an hour to build. So GPTs are really powerful, and especially if you can solve like proprietary issues that companies might have internally. And it's not just about making cool things to put publicly, because my super tutor, although it's used a lot, it doesn't solve a big problem.
Well, I saw one today for Notion, and it has the Notion docs within it, and it's like what, $6 a month or something. And I was thinking like, wait a minute, this is a GPT, right? But they have plans, and they go up to, I think, $30 a month. But it'll, instead of you hunting through the docs to figure out how to do something with Notion, it's supposed to be, I was tempted to look at it because there's a lot I don't know how to do with Notion, but I
I
didn't
feel
want to.
there's a sweet spot here with the GPTs. It's like a no-code tool that anyone can use. So you can build. There are constraints, obviously, because like you can't do that much. You can't string together multimodality prompts and then have them output things and then bring them back. You can do that with the API. But then again, you can do a lot of things with the GPT that's super powerful. And because you don't have to have any coding skills, it just opens up the door to so many people. So I do feel that there's a massive gap here in the middle where GPTs can play a huge role solving both small problems, but also larger problems. I personally, it's like a macro almost. Like for some of the things that I do every day, I translate all the time because I'm living in Spain. I don't speak Catalan. I do speak a bit of Spanish, and I do speak English and Swedish. And then my girls, they go to Catalan school, so they only speak Catalan. So I need to quickly be able to translate between 4 languages. And I don't want GPT to kind of answer questions for me. I just want it to translate. So I made my own little custom GPT that's super talk or super speak. And I only need to input, I have short commands as well. So there are some Easter eggs. So for me, I only need to input 666, for example, then I get all the pairs that I need. So I just type 666 and then whatever I need to translate, and then it just translates that. But if you want to translate between Lithuanian and Farsi and Spanish and English, you can do that. If you want to translate between English and Russian, you could do that. And it will never, ever behave as an agent or an assistant. It only translates. And you can try to break it, but you'll be wasting your tokens and you'll be wasting your conversations trying to make it break.
I like them because it gives you, like, every time I use one, a different one, it gives me ideas for how to make something myself, or what I like, how I could adapt it or create something that's more specific for me. So I think it's kind of like for the people who are using it, it's accelerating your learning and your innovation and creation.
Yeah, 100% agree. And we'll leave that for next week. But then I share a pin to the top there, Super Speak, if you want to give it a try. And please give me some feedback. It's fun. You can translate anything and you can try to break it.
Man, that's awesome, Linus. Thank you so much. That's I didn't even think about that, where your situation too, but that's a great tool. Thank you. Wow. So everybody please look up there. And I think that, what else, Taylor, everybody would go around everywhere. I guess we'll let people go home here and I'll go eat. But thank you.
See ya.
Thank you
The
all for
top.
Bye,
coming.
guys.
Have a
See you,
safe
everyone. Thank
weekend,
you. Have a good
and
weekend.
have fun playing with all this new stuff that's out there. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you,
Yay,
Hannah.
thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.